And actually, if you go look at our Google Ads right now, it actually tells us we're not spending enough. We haven't spent enough money yet.
Oh, is that right?
For it to do.
How convenient for Google. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 550 of Coffee with Butterscotch, the weekly podcast for indie game developers. I'm Seth, and I'm the games programmer.
And I'm Adam, and I'm the web developer and stuff.
I'm Sam, and I'm the artistic stuff.
And we are Butterscotch Shenanigans. Today is December 5th, 2025. Today, we're going to talk about marketing some more.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do a kind of a follow-on to our past couple of episodes where, if you haven't watched those, go back and check those out. We talked about YouTube shorts and kind of how to think about marketing in your indie game today, in 2025. And we talked about some of the stuff that we had been doing to promote How Many Dudes and how we had kind of figured out this sort of constant churn of YouTube shorts and just generating lots of wish lists and views off of that. And also just how to evaluate, is your game marketable? Are you getting good responses from people and stuff like that? So we wanted to kind of do a follow-on of over the past couple of weeks. How has our thinking kind of shifted as production has changed around a little bit? And what's our next steps? And we've also tried some experiments with advertising. And we want to talk a little bit about ads. So let's get into it.
Yeah, so I think the high level point is that one is we're trying to figure out exactly how, essentially, a playbook strategy for us to be able to reliably deliver wish lists on Steam. I guess the goal, right, with any of this stuff. And then ideally have it be the case that it's high leverage, which means it just doesn't take a shitload of time, right?
Yeah,
or money.
Yeah, because reliably, if you can reliably generate 3 wish lists a day, that's reliable, but that's not
really
gonna
good.
get. It's not gonna get
If it costs you $10,000 a day to do it.
So you need reliable. You need to reliably generate a lot of wish lists.
Yes,
somehow.
Yeah,
right.
And so, in our previous experiments now with YouTube Shorts in the past couple months, we found a couple things. One is that the initial phase is just, can you actually use YouTube Shorts to promote this game in particular, right? So that's the first big question you have. And our answer for How Many Dudes is yes. Our answer for our other games is kind of no, which is surprising.
Straight up no. Yep.
So again, games can do well in a lot of different ways. Crashlands 2, Crashlands, Levelhead. These are games that have done well for us on the overall business side, but in very different ways than the way we're talking about now.
They've been hard,
and if they've done well for the people who get the games and then play them. Those people love them. Getting people to get the games has been a struggle the whole time for those games.
And Crashlands 2 works pretty well and algorithmically on Steam, right? Steam does promote it. We've gotten daily deals, stuff like that, to also do promotion for it there. And so what we're talking about here is specifically being able to bring in, is it possible to make a short form video or a trailer and have that itself be market proof for you that your game is going to be able to get some wish lists, get some audience downstream, right?
Because ultimately the two parts of the problem here are, you've got a game on Steam and you're trying to get wish lists, right? There are two parts. One is catching somebody out in the wild who you've never seen before in large numbers and being like, hey, look at this game I got. And then getting them to be like, cool, I have seen this, right?
I witness you.
So that's part one, is having people actually see this thing exist. And then part two is getting them to come on over, mosey on over to Steam and wishlist it.
Right? Not only have I seen it, I wishlist it.
Yeah, and there's a disconnect there. There's a big disconnect. Yeah. So what we've been able to do then with How Many Dudes is to create YouTube Shorts, get lots of people to see them, and seeing a tremendous uptick in wishlist traffic. So
and so both of those problems are hard problems, right? How do you get both those work?
Yeah, and so both those, in our case, are now at the place where we're asking a different question, which is okay, just one of our shorts, the Vampire Farts one, for How Many Dudes, appears to have generated around 1,200 plus wish lists, which is obscene. It's an obscene number of wish lists for a day of work, right? And put us into a very interesting question after all of our recent episodes and last couple weeks, because over break, I was sitting there on break, traveling with my fam. Like a nerd, not doing work. And I was just thinking the whole time, I was like, I feel like every day that I don't make a short for this game, that I am taking a big stick and just shoving it in the game's spokes, because I could be generating 1,000 wish lists per fucking day if I was just doing this full time, right?
Yeah. But could you?
But
And
could I?
also, is that enough?
And also, what's the opportunity cost?
Yep.
Yes. And
so
so
there's a lot of questions in that.
yeah, because at the end of our last episode, and even the thumbnail, you see that it's basically about you should be marketing the game all the time, right? Now,
What does that
where
mean,
we're
though?
yeah, what does it mean? Like, how are we thinking about it? So the reality is we're a very small team. So I cannot go make a short every single day and also be present to do the business, the art, and the design stuff that's required of me to just actually make the game.
Now we could
So-
outsource the marketing, but the problem with it is, especially with something like YouTube Shorts, authenticity is huge.
Yeah.
Like having the voice of the creator in there, having the people making the thing talking about the thing that they're making.
Mhm.
That if you don't have that, it just doesn't hit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
just
it's
like a
got to
weird
be
ad at
real,
that point.
you know.
Yeah, but there are potentially people out there who could pull it off, right? But finding those people and like all of
That'd
that
be
is
a
such
it's
an
whole
endeavor.
other, yeah,
Yeah.
whole other investment, right?
Yeah.
So then we have the question of like, okay, well, the person who makes the content then would be actually required to make the underlying game that the content is writing on top of. And on top of that, like in order to make new content, like yeah, in an ideal world, you somehow make like one short a day, right? But the game has to have new stuff to talk about. Otherwise,
You can't just be
Well,
making
yeah.
the same short.
exactly.
Every day.
So it's like, okay, so there's basically a pace limiter in here anyways, no matter
Yeah.
what, right?
Yeah.
It's not possible to do, at least with like our current structure, our current velocity. Maybe if somehow the game was both able to expand, like 3 times faster or something overall, right?
Well,
And
what was that like that idle terrace game or whatever?
which was the gardening game?
The gardening game? What was the
Yeah.
name of that one?
I can't remember it, which is funny, but it's there. Yeah, there's a gardening game that's on these shorts that you can find.
So we saw a breakdown from this developer talking about how he basically made a short every day.
Tiny Gardens. There it is.
Tiny gardens. And
Yeah.
it's an idle gardening game.
Yeah, that looks
It's very
cool.
it's very
shit.
cute. It's pixel art. And it's
Is it the
meant
one
to
with
be
like the golems that
Yeah.
take care of your
They're
stuff?
like harvesting all your plants and shit like
yeah,
that. Right?
and it's like it is like a true idle game. Like it's meant to be actually like played in a window next to other shit that you're doing on your computer. Like
Yep.
it's meant to be like a second screen game, basically. And he said, what do you make? 132 shorts or something like that. And ultimately he ended up with like 20,000 wish lists or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Which then it's like, but then if you look at the reviews for his game, it's like it's basically a combination of people being like, "This is great. I wish there was more of it," or like, "This is great, but there's a bunch of bugs." Right? And like he did pretty well, but you have to wonder like how many of those shorts really paid off, and what was like the total views of all of those shorts. They would typically get, I think, like maybe like 10,000 views
20,000
or something.
views, yeah.
And so this is kind of the problem we're talking about, which is like if you're putting so much time into making those shorts and that's at the cost of actually working on the game, then the efficacy of those shorts probably goes down because there's
Might
just
go
nothing
down.
new to talk about, and
Yeah.
and you're also losing dev time toward features and bug fixes and other stuff like
Right.
that.
But I think
you know?
importantly, I do think you can prove if the conversion will work, basically, even with a couple of these videos, even with like
Yeah.
10,000 views, even our very first How Many Dudes short, which I think had like 10,000 views at the start, we could see a traffic increase and a wish list bump, right, on Steam, which was not present for our other games, even with shorts that had maybe some more views.
Yeah.
And so importantly, you can actually do it poorly and be able to tell if that conversion is going to work or not, and then maybe ask the question of like, should we go back to the drawing table and change some things about the game, or are we just barking up the wrong tree here?
Because right. The first phase is you have 2 goals. One is to figure out how to make content that YouTube will show to people and that people
Yes.
will engage with, right? And the other one is to see, once you have done that, now that you can get it shown to people, does that convert into
Yes.
wish lists? And once you get through that phase of figuring out like, am I making something that I can sell to people, and do I know how to sell it to people, right? Because once you know that too, that also can shape the future of your design process for what things are going to change. It's going to help you shape how you're going to pitch it to people who are not yourself, right?
Mhm. It's just super useful overall. It's like, it gives you a lot of confidence, I think. So that's like, I would call that's like the market testing phase, right? So again, like we completed that. We completed very effectively. And then we got into the question of scaling. How do we scale up this marketing effort? And it was like, okay, we can't. It'd be dope if we could, but we can't super meaningfully scale it up beyond like a couple shorts. Basically, taking some time to make a couple shorts every couple of weeks, basically. It's not super realistic for us right now. So then it was like, okay, well, that's annoying because it feels like we're leaving a bunch of stuff on the table then, just in the background, right? It's like, what we've seen largely is that the shorts views die down after like 4 or 5 days, which means if we go 4 or 5 days without some shorts views, then our overall wish list traffic on Steam goes down, right? For how many dudes?
Yeah, because we're still at a point where we were looking kind of through the algorithmic discovery mechanisms on Steam, right? And like with Crashlands 2, we had a moment where we got, it was because of a daily deal we did of Crashlands. We drove a bunch of players over to Wishlist Crashlands 2, which got us a like 2,000 wishlist spike in one day. And that then caused Steam to put Crashlands 2 into the discovery queue and a bunch of other stuff.
Right.
And that then that gave us like 10 or 15,000 wish lists just from that. And then we just had a constant, then Steam was like, all right, we'll start showing your game to people. And then we just had a constant passive generation. Whereas with How Many Dudes, we haven't had one of those like big spikes yet. And so Steam is not showing the game to people. Like there's no
algorithmic
organic
happening.
Stuff going on. There's no algorithmic discovery happening. So every wish list we get, we generated.
Yeah, it takes a lot to catch those algorithmic flywheels to
get going. And I think it's important to note because like there seems to be a bit of a misunderstanding in the indie community about like what that means. What it means is that Steam does not just show your game to anybody. Like it defaults to not showing your game to people.
Because it can't, because there's just too many.
There's too many. So you have to already do actually a tremendous amount of legwork. It seems to be, I think the current theory is somewhere between like 7,000 and 10,000 wish lists ish that your game has to have before Steam will possibly start showing it to people. We'll tell you when it happens for How Many Dudes. We'll know. It hasn't happened yet, and we're closing on 7,000.
But even then, like Steam doesn't really have mechanisms to show games that aren't. Like, it doesn't show games that aren't out yet, right?
It does in Discovery Queue. It does sometimes.
But Discovery Queue is a lot more than just like, I think you're talking about like a spike. If you get like a spike of like 7,000 or 8,000 or something like that, then I think
that puts you in there Discovery
for sure.
Queue. Yeah.
But Steam doesn't just like look at a game and be like, oh, this thing seems to have a good number of wish lists, as far as we can tell.
It has
but only if the wish list volume is extremely, extremely high.
Yeah, well, because for clarity with like Crashlands 2, which had a lot of wish lists by the time we launched, right?
Yeah, 200,000.
We were only in Discovery Queue once, just that one time.
Yeah.
Yep. And it was when there was a huge spike in,
which again we generated by driving people from a little pop-up we put on the Crashlands main menu. We had Crashlands in a daily deal.
Yeah, and then it went back down, and then basically all the wish lists that we got that weren't out of that spike were still driven from us. They were not being driven from Steam, right?
I should say we drove it through Steam giving us a daily deal. So Steam, they helped.
Yes,
they helped.
Yeah, but the point being that it's not like the algorithmic part of Steam is not just like, hey, like this game seems interesting enough, like it's now going to be shown to people, right?
It's not just churning in the background for you no matter what. No. It responds to things happening.
Big things happening.
Big things, yeah. So you are responsible for this. There's no way around it. It's like what it has to. So you have to make something happen here. Right?
Yeah, and the only case where that's kind of like less true is on like new and upcoming kinds of those charts and stuff where stuff does get shown, and that's how a lot of people get their pre-release like final real wish list boost. Right? Is that it's the one time Steam's like, yeah, I'm showing your thing to people, kind of not no matter what it's doing, because it's still there are thresholds to get into those queues and stuff, right? But whatever those thresholds are much lower, but it's this extremely time-gated thing. And you're also in the pool. You're in the pool with all the other games, right? So, yeah, for the most part, if your game's just sitting there churning, you are responsible for the entirety of the eventual wish list pool that you have.
Yeah, and so that's where all the stress come from, because it's like, okay, we have a means now. The opportunity cost seems very high, though, in terms of like we still have to make the game. How are we going to balance this? And so we thought, well, let's look and see if ads will actually perform well, because we actually know that we have, for the first time, we have essentially the creative part, as they call it, but like the videos, the ad itself that are very effective. We already know these are very
They
effective.
convert. We figured out how to get YouTube to show them to people, but now the new mechanism for YouTube is to make new videos. And our question is, can we just pay YouTube to show it to more people?
Can we get more mileage out of our
so that we don't have to make a
videos.
new video and then gamble on whether or not YouTube shows it to people. Yeah.
And so this is where then we entered into like the YouTube ad space in 2 different ways. So one was through YouTube Promote, which is actually like basically ads from within your YouTube channel. There's like a promote tab. You can go over there, essentially run these ad campaigns.
Yeah, you can think of it as it's basically a simple front end on top of Google Ads, like Google's real ad platform, right? It's a simple front end that just doesn't give you really any options. It's just like, hey, promote a video, boop, then you did it, kind of with a tiny number of options, which is a lot. It's a hell of a lot easier to navigate and deal with than Google Ads, which is one of the jankiest pieces of technology on the planet, propping up a $1 trillion company, So that's where that is.
It's easy to use, but so far as we could tell, doesn't do shit.
Terrible.
So
Easy to use, but you shouldn't use it.
Yeah, we threw like $1,000 into it to see what's what's going to happen. It pointed it at the launch trailer, or like I said, the announcement trailer for How Many Dudes, the only trailer that exists for them. And it did drive a lot of views, supposedly.
Not even that many views though for the cost. Like it was actually way less cost effective than using Google Ads directly.
Yes, there seems to be like
from a views
attached to it.
Yeah.
But the stranger yet was that from the trailer itself, we were able to see again when we put it out, we see some wish list uptick. We can see that the trailer does work, like the trailer converts. When all those views came in from the YouTube Promote, one, they're going only to English speaking countries on purpose, which makes sense, right? Because that's what the video's in. But for some reason, YouTube only showed them to people from between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., which is fucking dumb. And then on top of that, I think it showed them it was like 80% of them were on TVs.
Yeah, because
you can't specify.
On YouTube, you can't choose what kind of devices it goes to. On Google Ads, you can, but on YouTube,
YouTube Promote,
Yeah, so if it's being shown on a TV, so our interpretation was like, well, we don't know if this could have done well, because of course that converted into nothing on Steam, just nothing observable, right?
But none of our current views for these, like for the trailer or for the shorts before this, were to TVs, right?
Yeah, and they should convert because you can't convert. You can't go from seeing the ad on TV to being on Steam.
Yeah, it was just like weird. We were like, okay, I guess that was just weird. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Let's just say that doesn't work very well. So that's a good note for any other indie devs. I don't think that's gonna work. And you cannot not show it on TVs, and it looks like it's going to bias heavily toward TVs. So
yeah, I think YouTube Promote is basically its purpose is to get views on a video and to get subscribers on your channel. It is absolutely not to do any downstream
pass through. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and now I will say the hill that I'll always die on is ads are a scam and they're not real,
which we'll get to. Yeah,
we'll get to. But this just kind of coming into it, we're like, should we do this thing? And I'm like, well, we'll try it.
Yeah, again, it's like every time we do ads where it's always, it hasn't worked for us before, but something has changed. We think there's something going on. We're like, maybe this is the combination of things that allows it.
Because if we have a video now where we're like, we know that this video converts because we've measured it, we've seen it, we've when we put it out there, we see the traffic spike, we see the wish lists coming in. So just got to show it to more people, which is what an ad does, right?
Right. So then we were like, okay, that didn't work. But again, we still have this problem. We want to be getting more views on these shorts because we know the shorts in particular, they drive a lot of wish lists. We don't have infinite time. So.
And our interpretation of why it didn't work was it went to TVs primarily, and it was more expensive than using Google Ads directly. At dawn, right? So we're like, it shouldn't have worked. Therefore, we actually haven't learned anything.
Our target audience, 3 a.m. stoner crowd.
Yeah, I don't
still
know
awake for some reason.
To be fair, for how many dudes? Not
perfect. Exactly. Right in our target demo.
Yeah. So then we're like, okay, we know how to do the Google Ads stuff. We've done it before. Let's do it. So we go ahead, we load that thing up, and you actually can, you can flag all these things. You can say, like, do not show this on TVs, you rascal. Do not show it at midnight, Only show it to people in US and Canada.
People are awake.
Yeah. Please quit being weird about it. And then you can actually measure then the cost, cost per click and how many clicks out you get, whatever. And so we're pretty dubious about this. So we're like, let's throw like $500 at this now, just see if we can see anything happen. Because again, we should be able to, because this stuff works. And we provided a mixed content. So you provide the actual trailer itself and then that vampire farts short, which we know drives just an absurd amount of wishlist traffic, right? So,
well, and the rationale here, because you have to always ask, like, if you're forcing something to be shown to somebody, then what does that mean in that context, right? So for a regular like YouTube video, there's a few places where your video can show up as an ad, right? It can show up in front of another video, which means somebody definitely doesn't want to be experiencing that, right? So that's the worst experience for a user, the least likely to convert. Then there's in search results, so somebody searched for something and then your thing came up. Again, that's not what they were looking for.
Well, it might be. They're like
it
Steam
could be.
games.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so that at least has some potential.
Like it could be,
right? Yeah. And then there's like up next, like a next video where that can show. There's a handful of places that a regular video can show up, but the likelihood of the person who's seeing it in that context wanting to see that is very, very low.
Right.
Versus, you ever see an ad and you're like, I'm glad I saw that.
Yeah. Versus YouTube Shorts, right? Because YouTube Shorts is not I'm looking for this based system for the user.
YouTube Shorts is I'm hanging out, show me some cool shit.
I'm hanging out, seeing literally random shit, right?
Which I think we probably all had the experience if you've done any short form media consumption where you don't realize something's an ad because it just looks the same.
Because you're seeing random shit. It's just one more random thing in the pile of random shit, right? And so
theoretically it would work better. Right?
Yeah. So for us, the rationale was okay. It actually makes the most sense for the same reason that it. From a discovery standpoint of like YouTube just deciding to show stuff to people, the most effective way to do that is going to be via shorts because it's a random content delivery mechanism, not a
people don't have to choose and know about it ahead of time.
Yeah. Then that should also be true for ads, right? So we want to make sure we want to try both and see what happens, right? As like if we do a mixed ad thing where we're doing both the short and the main trailer, what do we see, right?
Yeah.
And then getting rid of, because you can also exclude other kinds of options of where like each one can show up. So where we excluded everything, we were like, we think this is too unexpected of a place for somebody to see this, where like their interest is going to be basically zero when they see it.
Yeah. So after all that, then what we see is again the YouTube short converts as far as clicks, right? Clicks out. We drove I think like 2,800 clicks to the Steam store page. But this is where the plot thickens or gets perhaps very muddy or very scammy, depending on.
I think the plot thinnens because there was no plot. This is bullshit. This whole thing is a scam.
Yeah. So what we've seen, and I'm going to underscore this, what we've seen so far is anytime we drive any traffic at all to the store page, then we see resulting wish lists from
about a 30%.
Yeah, it's like 20 to 40% depending on.
As in, if somebody lands on our Steam page through our shorts, through whatever,
through Steam's mechanisms too. Yeah, through
basically
anything.
About a third of the time, they wishlist the game, right?
Which is very high. That's great.
What do you think? I'm just going to put the question out there for our listeners. What do you think the conversion was for people arriving on the Steam page from the ad? 10%, perhaps 5%.
But also to underline this is people who saw the ad and then ended up on our store page, right? As in like, because the first part of the problem is a different one. Because the question of like, because we're talking about conversion once somebody hits the store page for the game, which means they expressed interest somehow. Somehow they saw it and they were like, I want to check this out, right? So you've already passed that, and that's the crucible. That's the one where
we got those clicks,
right? So once they're on the store page though, because that means that they had to have a reason for coming there, which means they thought they were interested in this thing, right?
Yeah, the click through rate's good. Well, all those numbers are looking good as far as like people coming in.
Yeah,
you know. Yep. And then we'll let you guess. So hold it in your mind. What's your guess?
So our baseline is 30%. What could it be? If people coming from ads, if it's not that good, if it's not good of a click through rate, could it be 5%, maybe 3%? That would be great. It's 0.2%. It's far less than 1/100th of the conversion rate, which tells me these aren't people.
This is where we end up.
This is a fucking scam.
It also could just be accidental clicks.
Accidental clicks and bots is all you're gonna get because what the fuck?
That's absurd. That's an absurd drop, right?
It's a terrible rate,
and especially, and again,
because it makes so to me, and this
context is important, right?
Yeah, to me it makes sense if you're if someone is seeing a video as an ad in a random context, the likelihood of that being something for them. This is just like when you get the global Steam pop-up.
Yep.
That is a terrible click-through rate to your store
Yeah.
page because
The visibility is so
it's
high.
not
People-
measured,
right?
But if
Yeah.
people go to the store page,
Yes.
they then act accordingly. They're like, I
Yes.
want this.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not.
When
Yeah,
you
it's
And
not
you'll
start
see that
all
if you're ever lucky enough to have one of your games go up on a Steam billboard, and then
You'll have like
you'll
a
be
0.3%
like, oh,
click-through
you'll feel
rate,
so bad about your click-through rate to your store page because it's going to look like shit, right?
Yes.
But then you're going to go look at your store page conversions, and be like, oh, this is great, because it's gonna be
Because
good.
people
only
clicked
go
on
there
the
if they
thing
think
and
they're
they were
interested.
like, I clicked on this for a reason.
Because I want it.
Because I want to check it out.
So we ended up getting fewer wish lists from the 2,800 click-throughs of like our shorts video ad than we did from originally the trailer. We put that out, which only had like 1,200 views on it or something, or like the first couple of days.
And it got
So-
and it generated 40 visits to the page, which generated twice as many wish lists as the nearly 3,000 views on the page from the ad.
Yeah.
So again, the ad,
A little suspicious.
people coming from the ad wishlist the game at less than 1/100th of the rate of people visiting the store page from any other source.
Which I would interpret that that means that because we're showing it to random people, right? Basically, right. So my interpretation is that the people visiting the store are visiting it on accident. There's a probability that it's bots and stuff too, but I don't even think you need that. I don't even think you need the conspiracy theory. I think because the people they're swiping, they're doing stuff, right? Like the probability that they just
the problem is that
accidentally
a
go
conspiracy
follow,
requires multiple actors. In this case, there's only one actor involved, which is Google.
Well, I mean, either way. What I mean is, it doesn't even require nefarious act.
Yeah.
No, the thing is, and
Yeah.
the ad does say like learn more. It doesn't even say that you're going to be going to Steam, right? But in other words, there's always these underlying nuance pieces, which is like, yeah, it could be the case that most people who click on it are looking for a mobile game, right? Because there's one of the comments people are being like, oh, is it coming to Google Play? Is it coming to iOS? So it's possible that like some amount of.
But you would
the
think that
traffic
would
is
also be true just on YouTube Shorts, where
Exactly.
we don't have that. Yeah. So
Yeah,
so like the only explanation that to me makes any sense is it's misclicks and again potentially bots, or it could be right. But either way, you don't need the bots for it to also work as misclicks, right?
Right.
Because you're generating people, and this is where though, because there's the final nuance to this, right? This is where targeting comes into play, right? Because who is YouTube organically showing these shorts to? It's the people YouTube thinks would be interested, right? So,
That's
so
how the ads are supposed to work as well.
yeah, which is how ads are supposed to work as well. But for ads, we choose who we think it should be shown to, and then we tell.
but then Google like learns who's
Yeah,
actually paying attention to them.
But Google only does its learning shit when the numbers get big enough, right? And actually, if you go look at our Google ads right now, it actually tells us we're not spending enough. We haven't spent enough money yet.
Oh, is that right?
For it to
Interesting.
do.
How convenient for
Yeah.
Google.
So, because this is the thing about ads is like
the thing is, some of our targeting is the same targeting as what our YouTube Shorts use. A lot of the targeting.
But we went broad, right? We went pretty broad, where we're basically just like we're focusing on people who are like who are interested in
indie
Steam
games,
stuff
yeah.
and who like indie games, and so we're targeting an audience that we think makes sense, but it's it's still a wide audience, right? And the people who do this stuff for a living, like who do like YouTube ads as my job, right? Or if you talk to like a professional company that we have in the past, there was somebody I was talking to for Crashens 2 who were like, oh, we can manage an ad campaign for you. We basically like charge 10% on top of like what YouTube is charging right to manage everything, to come up with all the assets, do all this kind of stuff. And they were talking about the sheer degree, like volume of shit that they do to try to figure out, like, get everything tweaked, get all the knobs dealt with just right, and it basically costs you tens of thousands of dollars of ad spend to get to the point where you
figure
can
out how to
be
leverage
doing
it.
that stuff.
Then what the
right?
fuck is Google for? Like, if Google has all the data on everybody on Earth, why do you need a middleman to turn knobs for you? Like, it's all just scams all the way down.
Here's my thinking is that even in the case where you're assuming some portion of this traffic is just misclicks, right? Or that some portion of it is not targeted.
Like 98% of it. Or...
Exactly. Yeah. It would have to be literally all of it. Literally all of it.
Yeah. If every visit to your store page is a misclick,
Yeah. Which
Yeah, because that is what is happening. Is
That's
every
a little
visit
fucking
is a
weird.
misclick or a
Like, if you took out, you would have to take out like 99% of our views to get the conversion rate to match what is normal, right?
Yeah. And that,
So
that
if
to me is where it
99%
gets
of the
really
traffic is
weird.
misclicks, is this just a UI problem? Or are they just like,
Yeah, I don't know. So like if it was working like kind of, like let's say we get, I don't know, like 100 bushels out of the deal or something, right? Which we did not. But let's say we got 100. Then it's like, okay, you can actually see that. You could see the effect happening there, right? We couldn't see it at all.
Yeah.
We could see the traffic.
Well, and
coming in.
from a cost standpoint, it effectively is costing us like 70 cents a click, right?
Right.
But the clicks are
don't
nothing.
do shit?
The clicks are either bots or misclicks. They're not converting. As I said, their conversion rate for the click, the people who clicked, landed on the store. The conversion rate is 0.2% or whatever, right? So it's costing us 80% to have a 0.2% likelihood of that person.
Yeah.
Or it's costing us 80 cents, right, to have that likely happen.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
So that is not cost effective.
And this kind of tracks with like, if you dig into, there's a lot of articles out there about the efficacy of online marketing. There's basically two camps. There's people who make money from selling ads who are like, oh, they work for sure. They really work.
You just gotta spend $100,000 and twiddle out of knobs.
Yeah.
And
they're so effective. You can't
And if you're not doing it, then someone else is going to be doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
you're just leaving money on the table.
yeah.
There's that group of people, very trustworthy. And then the other group of people is people who have to spend the money on the ads. And if you read what those people say, it's overwhelmingly, wow, this shit doesn't really work. And like in 2020, 2021, there were a bunch of companies who just, for whatever reason, I think like during COVID, a lot of people were like, I don't know, shit's crazy. Let's just try let's just do some stuff.
They were trying to control costs because they were like, everything is crashing and weird, and so we don't know. We need to survive this patch, so we'll pull back on our marketing spend. It's one of the few places you can dial back without causing.
Yeah, because marketing budgets are enormous. They're enormous fractions.
Well, they can go up to infinite. So
so
it's a black hole.
So some of the examples from that time is like Procter and Gamble. They cut back $200 million from their online advertising budget.
Wild.
Chase Bank cut their ads by 99%. Uber turned off $120 million in ads for app installs. Not a single one of these businesses noticed any change whatsoever in their sales revenue or traffic. So if
it's a little weird,
$200 million results in no measurable change in traffic.
Yeah. So what?
And you could say, well, because at that point, everybody knows about those companies. So
exactly. Yep.
What's the difference, right?
They already spent their $200 million.
They already spent their billions of dollars.
They didn't have to keep up.
Yeah, but this is the problem. There's always a fucking goalpost with these ads.
Yeah.
They're always like, oh, well, there's a reason why. Like if you only earlier, if they spent $200 million, then it would have. Trust me, it totally mattered back then. We can't measure it, and we don't have any data about it.
And the classic one for that is the attribution problem, right? Which is because ads happen somewhere. And then the thing you want to have happen happens over here, right? So you got, and the question is, there's also other stuff happening, right? That causes things to happen over here, right? And so trying to figure out, like, did ads do anything is also one of these core questions that is mostly, there are often cases where you can directly answer it to ask a simple question, which is, did the ads that just went out that I spent money on, did those within a very short period of time cause an increase in the amount of money I was getting from this thing, or the amount of whatever that downstream that was happening, right? Because if you spend enough money to get that number big enough, that you can see in theory the results on the other side. And if you can't, you know that it had no impact, and therefore you know that you can
stop.
Now here's
but there's a piece that's left, which is part of the goalpost moving, right? Which is always you didn't see that now. Right,
but you raised awareness.
You
now,
raised awareness,
and it generates more.
Yeah. So
later,
now maybe
down
6 months
from
now, the success that you find yourself having was because of this unattributable fog of you just got all this visibility of your thing 6 months earlier, and so people know about it. So when they saw it show up on their Steam page 6 months downstream, they were like, "That looks familiar," and the familiarity caused them to click.
Yeah. It's like if you ever do ads, then everything that happens later, somebody from the ads department will claim that was partially why, right? If you don't do ads, and things go well, it'd be like, imagine how well it would have gone had we done ads.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And if you don't do ads and things don't go well, it's like, it's because we didn't do ads.
Yep.
There's always some kind of a reason. And here's how I know. Here's how I know that ads 100% don't work. So when we want to bring our games to a new platform, or more specifically, if that platform is like, hey, we want your game on our platform, right? Then we oftentimes will enter a negotiation about something called a minimum guarantee, because
they'll put some skin in the game,
right? Because they know that selling our game on their platform will generate revenue for them, right? And they also know that it's going to cost us something to make that happen. So they come in and they're like, hey, we'll give you X amount of money up front, and then that's recoupable by the store. So once they make their money back from the sales, then we enter into just a normal revenue split
of some sort.
Yeah. And we understand on the other side of that, they're like, yeah, they're taking, because we know that they can't guarantee that they make sales. So we're like, we know that they're taking a risk there. They're putting skin in the game. And so there are parts of that negotiation that might include like, oh, we'll get a lower overall rate the more they give us up front. And there's like all kinds of elements to that. But the core idea, though, is that company is putting their money where their mouth is. They're saying we can sell your game. And to show you how confident we are we can do that, we're going to pay you some of that money up front.
Yeah. And in a simple way, it's we can sell your game, but it's going to cost you something. In the case of a platform, it's dev time, right?
Dev time support.
With an ad, it's, hey, we can sell your game and it's going to cost you something, money, right? We got to put money into the ad, right? The reason you know that ads don't work is because not a single ad company will ever enter into a recoupable minimum guarantee agreement with you. They won't say, we know we can sell your shit,
so we're just going to go ahead and do it.
So we're just going to go ahead and we'll say, hey, we will just do it for you, and then we'll like recoup that, and then we'll enter into some kind of revenue share or whatever. That would be the business model if ads worked, because that's the business model in places where shit does work. Ads don't work, therefore the business model is hopes and dreams and lies.
Well, and this is actually how marketing and video games works, period. It's not even just ads, right? Because there's also like, if you have a deal with a publisher where they'll guarantee some amount of marketing effort or spend or whatever, you'll also notice that they don't guarantee anything about the outcome of those.
They just say, here's how much we're going to spend.
Yeah. So a publisher will guarantee how much money they're going to take from you, and maybe guarantee how much they're going to give you, but usually just as a proportion, right? But the main thing they're going to guarantee is how much they're going to take from you, right? What they will not guarantee is what kind of success they will create as a consequence of having done that. And like, for it's like, it's easy it's easy to look at that and be like, that makes sense. You don't, like, nobody knows how to call a winner for games, right? But if a publisher could make a winner, which is the claim that
much like an ad claims that they can generate revenue and
exactly
traffic.
The same idea. If an ad company, if ads work because they cause something to happen, right, then you could actually have guarantees around those. And you can't have guarantees around ads or around publishing, right? Because it's ultimately what matters actually is the thing itself.
It's all just riding coattails on hypotheticals of like, here's what would have happened had you not done this, which of course there's no way to prove it. And it's all just misattribution.
And here's what happened because you did this, but we also can't prove that either, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So
it's just storytelling.
This also exists in the influencer space. So again, we have paid some money in the past for influencer campaigns for like Levelhead. And what we've seen there is what appeared to be like, we're negotiating the hell out of those things because they are so high. It's kind of wild,
so
right?
Yeah.
But even so, it was like maybe we're like approaching maybe being able to break even. I think on the Levelhead one, like maybe.
We were like 80% of the way to break even. It looked like,
something like that.
Also known as losing money.
Yeah, also known as losing money.
Yeah.
But importantly, there's always that outstanding point and that outstanding question there, which is like, once the video is up, it is up in perpetuity, right, on the person's channel or whatever else, right? And so there's that theoretical of like, well, again, downstream, like you might not get immediate sales from it, but like downstream, you're going to see enough lift to like even it out, right? I think the problem is that if you do something and there's not within like a very tight window of like the initial activity, if there's not an obvious surge in like in this case like sales, right, or wishlist, whatever else, then I think you can it's just like it's too
Well, because
convenient
everything
to just
works the
explain everything.
same way, right? Because when you're juicing with ads, it gets shown while you're juicing it with ads, and then it's never shown again, right?
Yes.
If you're juicing something via having an influencer cover it, if it's live, then that's the only time it happens. If it's goes into VOD, right, on YouTube or whatever, then yeah,
Mhm.
people can, in theory, go back and watch that.
And
will
they will.
they?
I mean, like,
no,
well, like,
because
even
we
on
all-
YouTube, like you have a tail, right? But the point is,
you
like,
do,
if
but
you
the
did-
tail is low.
it's
compared
low,
to
and
the
so if you
spike.
if you
Yeah.
didn't see it effective enough in that spike, right, to be like justify
Yeah.
its cost, I don't think you could be like, oh, downstream.
It's probably
you know?
it's the same like 80-20 rule as like as launching a game, right? Which you say like I'm going to make 80% of my money that this game will ever make in the first year. That's not fully true because of how Steam does sales and like Steam's other mechanisms of showing your stuff to people, which don't exist on things like YouTube and that
Yeah,
kind
on
of stuff,
YouTube,
right?
it's like first 3 days, and then after
Yeah,
that,
then
it's
it's
just
gone.
a tail.
Yeah, and every once in a while like it gets in their boost or whatever, right? But if yeah, but basically like that first bit is the bit that was going to be measurable, and if it wasn't, nothing.
That's
else would
not,
be.
yeah.
Well, this is what I want to talk as kind of like a final note to kind of wrap this conversation about marketing and spending money on stuff. Let's talk about events and conventions.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at a high level, what you end up seeing with like in-person physical events are they're not worth the money and the effort, okay?
No, they're
unless
absolutely not.
your goals are not in terms of like direct conversion, right?
If you're trying to get players, yes,
Correct.
they're
Yeah.
absolutely.
If you're trying to
They're
get
good for
players,
one thing, which is playtesting. If you just
Well,
want to like
playtesting,
watch
and also-
people play your game and try to get a sense of
yeah, and also like
something,
business
yeah.
connections, right? A lot of the media people attend there, a lot of platforms attend. So in other words, they're not worthless. They're just not worth the thing that it seems like they're for, which is getting players.
You will never sell enough units of your game as a consequence of going to a convention to offset the cost of having. There's
Unless
never.
maybe it's like the convention is literally like down the street. It doesn't cost you anything to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it's
even
like
then, because like even your because like
that's true. Even
games
then,
are cheap. Even expensive games are cheap, and so the number of units you'd have to move to offset that is going to be high in the best case scenario, right?
Yeah. So if that's your sole goal is like shipping units, so that's not really the goal of those conventions, right? So I'm gonna exclude those because their point is not.
But some people think it is. So to be clear, it is absolutely is not and cannot be. There's
Yes.
no way to make
Change
that
your
cost
thinking.
effective.
So that leaves us then with like the digital event, like showcase events, right? So we're talking about like your directs, your like cozy game fests, your whatever things, right? So this is where we're still doing experiments on, because again, like, God damn, it'd be nice if there was a way for us to not have to be doing CPR on a game and just repeatedly trying to shove wishlists into it with our own effort. And this could be one of those ways. So we're looking around, we're trying to figure out where to do something with how many dudes, and if to do something with how many dudes. And the reasoning being that what we've seen in the past, Crashlands 2 was in the mix. We were also in the PC gaming show with it. I think in one of their most wanted things or something, which cost way too fucking much money.
That was absolutely not worth it.
Absolutely not worth it
by a mile.
And maybe worth it for some of the games on there. I don't know if again.
That was good. I think we estimated we made back 50% of what we spent, which again, as Seth would say, which just means we're
also known as losing money.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's not good. Like the mileage may vary. Again, a lot of the stuff we've been talking about is like depending on the game you're showing, all this math gets weird. And that's kind of the problem with the experiment is like you're kind of needing to ask the same question again with every single game, leaning on your expertise. But like, if you get to
how much was the game? How much how much of it was the content? How much of it was?
Will it be able to work?
And also, what matters a lot is how much did you actually spend, right? Because had it been half as expensive for us to do that PC gamer thing, we'd have broken even. Had it been half as much less than that, we would have made twice as much money as we spent.
Yeah.
Like
and
the problem with all these,
I did negotiate it down by almost a half.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
which is also the insane part.
We could have lost 75% instead of holding.
Wow. So where we're up to then, like with how many dudes, is trying to figure out something that we can do. And the reason is that there are events now that have, again, they have splash effects where it's like they'll have Steam featuring during the event, right? In other words, you get shown somewhere else on the store, which is the best place to be shown during that event, and maybe in a select pool of people. So there's these other things that are happening that we're like, that's what we want. We want some of that we want the store to be doing something for us because it still isn't, right? Aside from just letting us collect the wish list. And so trying to find something that does that for us and doesn't require too much in terms of asking us for exclusive shit, because they always ask you even if you're paying them, which is wild. They might be like, it'd be $12,000, and
And
we
we
need
need
to
an
orient.
exclusive.
Yeah, we need an exclusive. Otherwise, it'll be
A
even
fresh
more money.
new trailer with never before seen footage. Bleh.
Yeah, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, so there's always that, which is just annoying.
That's what the money's for, dude. Just
Yeah.
take the money and
Well,
shut up.
so-
but again, like it would be one thing. The one that annoys me the most though is that because you also if you work with like a marketing or PR company or something, that they'll also be like the way that you get people to pay attention is you offer them an exclusive. Like that's how it is. But that
Yes.
means that you have to like there's this like game you're playing where you're like, okay, I've offered these 10 people exclusives. I'm waiting to see if any of them are interested. I only have so many exclusive announcements I could possibly make, and then this person is interested, this person's not,
Well, and
or
it-
whatever.
it
These
puts
10
you-
things want a new trailer, so I have to like line up. I have to spend
Yep.
like $20,000 making new trailers for the next month, but almost none of it is even guaranteed to happen.
Well, and this is the trap we fell into with Crash and Steal. I'm gonna call it a trap.
Yeah,
which
the
is-
exclusivity trap.
Which is, if as a developer, you think, oh my gosh, if I want anybody to talk about my game, I have to make sure that I don't talk about my game. Because if I say anything about it, that's a potential exclusive that I just gave
You
away.
can't give to somebody else now.
And now and so it's like we're making YouTube shorts and stuff for how many dudes, and we're promoting the game and generating wish lists and traffic and stuff.
Mhm.
And then if one of these conventions or shows or whatever is like, oh yeah, you can only come in if you have something never before seen or some kind of an announcement or
Right.
whatever, then that tells us like that we've made a mistake by promoting our game, right? But the fact is, none of these events will ever generate the traffic that a YouTube short does.
Well, that's been the weird thing.
Not even
guess
close.
That's why I want to
you
underscore
know?
though, which is like
Yeah.
at least for us in the past, because I have seen there have been games that have been at showcases where they announce or whatever else, and that is like the place where they start their
yeah, but
thing.
that's also where they announced, right?
So
Which
that-
means
yeah,
that
there's
it
a lot
didn't
of
have
weird
to be
things.
the show.
Maybe.
Anytime
Yeah.
I've seen an effect, there were other explanations for the effect.
Well, so this is what I want to get to, which is the funny place we arrived at, because we were like probably we shouldn't bother though, because like we can just do it ourselves with YouTube Shorts. Like why pay someone if the game's already
We can
actually
promote
able
it. Yeah.
able to be promoted just under its own leverage? I'm like, let's do that.
If we already have to make a new video for this fucking thing anyway, why don't we
Right.
just make
Why don't
one
we
for a
just put it
YouTube
up?
short?
It'll get
Just
more
put-
views.
It'll get more views. It'll probably drive more wish lists. But then
Yeah.
that was the other question, which was like, okay, but in the past, none of the games that we've made have had actual like good, wish list follow through from these things. But this one definitely does. So is it the case that only the time when you should do an event like this, or even pay money for an event like this, is when you don't need to do so?
Right,
Because
because
that means
you
the
have
thing is
a
effective?
marketable game, and if people see the game, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, this is exciting," and then it actually like generates traffic.
Yeah.
If you
Which
haven't
then
been
also
able,
underscores my annoyance with it is like exclusivity is fucking unrelated. Why does everybody need to, so obsessed with being like, "Ooh, I get to be the one who says this"?
it's because
you know?
it's because this in the same way that like a platform wants an exclusive game because that drives people to the platform, right? If the event doesn't have anything exclusive, it's just like trailers people have seen before. Nobody cares about the event.
But the thing is,
right?
like, it's generally the case. The whole point of the event is that they're showing people things that they haven't seen before. That's
Exactly.
literally.
If you haven't seen it before, it's exclusive. This is like
Right.
this is like the
Yeah.
randomness problem, right? Because
Yeah.
like this is the thing
Yep.
that comes up a lot in our design discussions about stuff, the mechanics of randomness, right? Because take like level head, we wanted to deliver random levels to you, so you can be like a random playlist, right? And there's this interesting problem, which is like, well, what does that mean, right? Because generating literally random, as in like we talk to the ether of the universe, and we're like, give us a random number, and then we'll grab the thing that has that, right? Is incredibly expensive to do something like that, right? But there are all kinds of ways we can. But what randomness actually is experientially is something you didn't expect to happened. That's all it is.
It's just in this case, in the case of a convention, it's just seeing something you haven't seen before.
Yeah,
which
because
is
if
almost
the
guaranteed
people,
for indie games.
if the people who are watching this convention have already seen how many dudes, they're not going to. We've already converted them, or they're not going to convert. That's honestly the truth, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're going to see a new exclusive trailer for the thing, right? It's not going to do anything. What
'Cause
we
it's-
need is
it's
to
all
show the
new for
game to
them.
people who haven't seen it yet. And
Yeah.
if that's what these things can do, then that means that their audience hasn't seen it yet either, which means it's already exclusive to their audience.
Yep.
Look, fresh look.
So if
for you.
something needs exclusives, I think you're back in the scam camp. I think it's a scam
It's just
if something is asking for exclusives.
And as much as I say it's just nonsense, as an indie dev, you'll be asked for this all the
Constantly.
fucking time. It is wild.
And here's
It
the thing:
is.
we might
They're like,
still
hey,
do
you
one of
with
these
your no
events.
budget and whatever.
Yeah,
like,
we might still do one of these events because we're dumb.
Also,
that's just
because you
part of
gotta
it.
try it.
You gotta,
You gotta try it.
What
You'll be
if?
like, well, it's different. It's different this time. It's
Yeah.
different this
You
time,
gotta see
guys. I
this
swear.
this time.
This will be the one
This
that
baby, I can
finally
change. Okay,
breaks
It's
the
just-
laws of physics and
I just need
actually
one more
does it.
day.
No,
Yeah.
it's not gonna do shit.
I'm not gonna do shit, but we kind of want to try it again just to see. Just
Yeah,
to
and you
see.
can and you can actually prove this to yourself too because anything that's had at an event that had a Steam page
Yes.
that went along with it, right? That
This is
Steam
the
page
most
is
fun
still
part.
up. They're kind of hard
Yep.
to find, but they're still up. They live forever,
Yep.
so you can go find any of those. They usually say the
I-
dates right on them.
I bet I think the PC gaming show one. I think the most watched list has it.
Yeah.
One. They just have
Yeah,
it.
they're
So
there,
you
right?
could go look at it and
you can
then
see what games are in it. You can go look at each one Steam TV.
look at the follower count. So followers are like they're a very rough proxy for wish lists, but like basically you should be able to fucking notice if
You should see
PC
something.
gaming show did something. You'll be able to see something happening there.
Yeah, and again, the
or
only things
not.
I could ever see, because I looked at a lot of events, because people pitched events to us, like, hey, if you give us $3,000, then
Mhm.
you can put your game in this event.
If you
and
give
we'll
us
show it to a bunch of people.
$3,000, we'll take it. We'll just take it
take
and
it.
have it.
And then and they'll be like, and we've done this, we've done this for the past few years or whatever, and I'll be like, cool. So then I'll go like find the Steam page for last year's, right? And I'll go look for the games. And again, the only games I've ever seen, so almost none have a measurable, like visible measurable thing.
Yes.
The ones that are visibly measurable are ones where the follower counts were so low that you can see a tiny bump, as in. Yeah, sure. They got 10% more of 10 people. Who gives a shit? That's nothing, right?
Right.
Or
Yeah, they
things
got
that
one.
things that released, or that their Steam page went live, or that came out of early access. Like something happened significant on the store.
Right. That's like
Right.
right. Unrelated to the
Yeah,
event.
so you can
It would have
no
already
longer
been a bump.
disentangle.
Yeah, it
that.
would already been
Yeah.
a bump, and so now
Yeah.
you can't tell how much of the bump is
Yeah.
because
I will
of
say
the
there have been ones I've seen where there might be like one in a showcase that doesn't follow this
Yeah.
facts, right? Where it's like the game is shown like essentially for the first time to people with some exclusive trailer, even though the Steam page has been sitting there rotting away,
Yeah.
And then it does go, right, for some reason. But I don't even know what the rate is there. And again,
But
the
I think
point-
these are your games that are going to be successful if they can be seen by people. Right.
Well,
And
this,
so
and
that's
this
the
is
category.
this is the kicker is that you don't need to drop $10,000 to be in one of these shows. You can just make a YouTube short. Like,
apparently, yeah, if it's going to
if-
work in the show, it will work from
yeah,
that.
because the
I feel like
consequence
that's
here
true.
is like, this show says, we'll show your game to people. And then they do that. And then you get wish lists, right?
Mhm.
You can already just do that without spending $10,000. Like, you can just
Yeah.
make
Well,
YouTube
and I think
shorts.
the question
Yeah.
there is like, because now it's a matter of scale, right? Because we're still not getting huge numbers of wish lists out of
No.
YouTube Shorts, right? We're getting good conversion rates and we're getting respectable numbers given the scale of the game, given where we are in the cycle rate and all that kind of stuff.
But if we
But it's
ramped
not
it,
enough, right?
No,
but if you see like some of the numbers
ramped
on,
it up, if we ramped it up to spend essentially $10,000 worth of human time
Yep.
on making some shorts,
yeah,
I
would
can
that give us the
confidently say-
equivalent of much more than we would get from
Oh,
participating?
guaranteed.
Certainly.
literally guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even if all of the videos that we
By
put out,
orders of magnitude.
yeah,
You
even
know?
if none of the videos we put out are on equivalent scale as like the vampire one, if they're like 100 to 300,000 wish lists or views per short we put out.
Yeah.
If we put out like, I don't know, 10 shorts.
Actually, that's true because if we think about it just like giving very rough amount of like how much money people get paid and stuff, right? Because like the typical thing is you're like, oh, it costs basically like $10,000 a month to employ somebody and pay them, okay, and with all the other stuff that goes into that, taxes, blah blah, right? So $10,000 that's a month of someone's time.
Mhm.
You can make probably two videos a day,
1
right?
to 2, yeah.
So that's 20
15 to
work days.
30, or yeah, sure.
Yeah.
20
10
work days.
So
40
you got 20
shorts.
videos.
Yeah. You got 10 and 20 videos.
Mhm.
And if each one can generate 1,000 wish lists, there's 20 to 30,000 wish lists.
Yeah.
Right there.
What event is going to get you
I've never
for
seen an event-
$10,000, 40,000 wishes? Like,
None.
not even,
Like,
what event for $10,000 is going to get you 500 wish lists? None of them.
Very, yeah,
Not a
very
single.
few.
Yeah.
So
but,
I think
but again, this is where the opportunity cost problem comes in, because yeah, that's how much like money a month of your time is worth, but it also takes away a month of art development, design work, etc. Right.
Yeah.
And so this is where, and this is always the case when you're trying to outsource something, because this is what this is. This is, and if you're doing an event like this, if you're spending money on ads, whatever, like this is outsourcing, sort of definitionally, right?
Just trying to put it in somebody else's.
Outsourcing is always less effective than doing it in house, always.
Yeah.
So, but it's an opportunity cost question of
Mhm.
what do I get to do instead because I've outsourced this, and is that worth the degradation in the basically ROI of that project, right? So you're going to spend more money this way, but the idea is you're getting your time back.
Let's say,
Right?
or is it the case that you have the ability to develop a longer form relationship with like a trusted entity, right?
Mhm.
On the outsourcing side.
Well, yeah, to the point where it
Who-
basically becomes in-house.
Yeah, like our audio contractor, for example. You
Yeah, because
technically
in-house
would
versus
out-
internal versus external, insourcing versus outsourcing is a matter of context and buy-in, right? Because you can get somebody who's not part of your company or your team or whatever. If they're really good, have full buy-in and full context, then they can do work just as well as anybody on your team, right? Because they're part of your team now.
But that's the tricky bit
but
with all this stuff. is,
Bridging
like,
that
the rate
gap takes
which,
a long time.
Yeah, it takes a long time. And so
And
usually
you have to
don't
get lucky finding a person in the first place.
Yeah, you should have money for it. So yeah, so where does that leave us? Okay, well, try the ads. Doesn't do shit. If any people, any devs watching this have done ads and they've seen them actually work, let us know. Let us know what the
Also,
game was. if
I'm
you
ready
don't
for the
mind.
tsunami of crickets in the comments. Just
But also at
nothing.
any meaningful scale, because here's the thing. You can throw $60 at Reddit ads. You can throw $60 at whatever, and you can see something happen.
that's how they
Right.
get you.
Well, maybe.
Actually,
you
sorry.
can.
On
I don't know
Reddit,
if you can.
on Reddit, you can see something happen. Reddit, it's hard to spend enough money.
Yeah,
to,
can you
like,
see something on your fucking store page app? That's the question.
Yeah, can you see
I
how
don't care
page
about-
happen? And if you then do the math and figure out what are these conversions, right? And be like, okay, well, I spent this much money. These people landed on my page.
Yeah.
I got this many wish lists. Wish lists convert on between a 10 and a 30% rate. Usually from discounts though. So like it's multiplied by your game,
Yep.
roughly 50% off. That kind of
And we lost money.
Right? So
Yeah.
you go all the way down that funnel and like, did you?
So
you can't.
did you
It's
make-
self-balancing, man.
I want to hear.
Like,
I want to hear if you've had success with them. In what context? If you haven't had success from them, it'd be nice to know, frankly. And then
No.
same thing on the showcase side. If you've been in
Not
like a
just
showcase,
hear it. We need to see that it's. We need to
No,
see
see
those
if
numbers.
ads worked, they'd be more expensive, which means they wouldn't work.
there's always a problem there.
I mean,
But I'm curious then too, if you've done a showcase, thing and it has worked for you really well, like beyond the expectations, right? Abnormally well. I want to know. Or if you've done one where you're like, what the fuck would we do that for? I also want to know. Because like I think the problem is, as independent studios, especially if you're not working with a publisher who's able to sort of mentally collect more information about launches, about the state of things, it's just very easy to be completely bamboozled or like taken advantage of in these contexts, right?
Yeah, we want to know. Yeah, absolutely. Like information sharing. We want to know what you've seen, what's going on. But the thing to be careful of when you're hearing other people talk about it, when you're telling people about your experiences, right, is always a question of alternate explanations, which is if you're in an event and you saw something happen, was there other stuff going on? Right? Was there other stuff going on that could explain
Yeah.
it?
because you
Yeah.
just don't. You can't know
It's hard
what
to
would have
untake.
happened without having done the event.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. So I think we should leave it there for today because it's been a wild ride, and we'll keep reporting on this in the future weeks as we make some decisions about what the hell we're going to do with how many dudes.
Yes. So for now, we're just kind of digging in. We're working on a demo, and we'll figure out
Mhm.
kind of when.
What to do with that?
Because we're kind of talking about leverage earlier, and it's like, well, we want to kind of pull back on our marketing production, so Sam gets more dev time, so we can get a good demo up, so we can drive people to the demo, which will then help spin up the flywheel, because then people can also stream and make videos.
Yeah, people
them
can
playing
make
the
their
demo.
own content organically about
Yes.
the game.
Yeah. So that way, it's not just us, as Sam put it, pumping, doing chest compressions, right? Like, that way, if other people are getting involved and are able to play the game and talk about it through the demo, then that should increase the leverage of our YouTube shorts. And so we're kind of like balancing that. So, as we talked about in the past, like marketing isn't just making ads or making people aware of the game. It's the entire scope of everything that you're doing to get the game out
Strategically,
there
yes.
strategically. And a demo is, for how many dudes, we think a demo is going to be a huge part of that. And so we're putting much time into that now.
Mhm.
So that's all the time we have for this week. We'd like to thank our producers, Fat Bard and Sampa Acosta, for putting the podcast together. And thanks to our community moderators who keep our Discord running. If you'd like to get more involved in the Butterscotch community, just go to podcast.bscotch.net, where we have links to the Discord, a way for you to donate to support the podcast, and links to the archives. And if you haven't yet, head on over to Steam, Google Play, the App Store, pick up Crashlands 2, Crashlands, Levelhead, and of course, head on over to Steam and Wishlist. How many dudes? Because it's coming.
It was good.
It's
Yeah.
coming. It's yeah. We'll talk about it some more in future episodes, but it's a wild ride, this game. Very excited about it. So thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.